Hello! In this video, we will discover the simulation and testing tools in details, right now. Let's check the tools part. The tools that let you check the contrast between your text and its background. So based on your palette you decided to create above, we will now be able to see how it looks like with real text on real background. In this list, we will want maybe to hide some elements. So those elements can be expanded and collapsed just by clicking the little eye icon. And as your list can be long, you have some shortcuts that lets you to show and hide directly from the menu the complete list or invert the selection. So you have see all, hide all, and invert selection. Now you can also filter on contrast that validate with WCAG, and in that list you can choose which level of validation you want. Maybe you are not interested because you know that some are not valid at all and you are not interested in working with these ones. So using those filters lets you validate directly on AA on large fonts, AA full, AAA on large fonts, and AAA full. Next, you can choose to compare based on the background or the foreground, the background or the text. When you choose text, you will compare the text on the same background color next to each other. When you choose background, you will compare background colors next to each other with the same color of text. This is just another presentation. It really depends on the way you are working. Now we will have also the option to make simulations. Simulations because you have good eyesight. Probably. Hopefully for you. But who knows? Maybe people you will target your design to won't see as well as you can. So you have different kind of disabilities, such for the eyesight. So you can choose normal, hopefully you, or you can choose poor eyesight. Poor eyesight, which is basically a simulation of blurry text. Blurry as somebody who has poor eyesight, somebody who needs glasses for instance, would see your text without glasses. You also have another kind of disability. Low contrast problems. Some people see with very low contrast, meaning that they see neat images but very poor contrast. By example, looking at a forest, they can see the trees, but they cannot distinguish the mountains with the sky. This is something that maybe you experienced already as well, when watching a poor quality screen, a poor quality projection, or something like that. At some point, you cannot even read what is on the screen anymore. So it helps you also to simulate if the contrast is strong enough. Next to it, we have color blindness simulation. None is hopefully you. But you have all the different kind of disability simulation, and you can check next to each others. When you are satisfied of your colors, of your setup, you can check immediately if it fits with the different kind of color blindness. It's really important to consider that WCAG is just an indicator. It doesn't mean that when it validates with WCAG, it's good. Validation also needs common sense. When you design something, you have those simulator tools to help you to define if on top of WCAG validation, it will also be accessible with other kind of fonts. So you have a huge set of fonts, the usual ones that you probably all know already, but also the set from external libraries. By the time of this video, you can access the fonts provided by Google Fonts. So you can choose between several hundreds of fonts. If you decide to use those fonts, it's quite interesting to see that even when WCAG validates it, with some fonts like Tangerine here, it's just unreadable. So this is something that should be avoided as it is. The font is way too small. We have seen in this presentation everything manipulated with the mouse, but when you enter in production, it's much more convenient to use the keyboard. Using the tab, once you click on the first item, you can jump to the next field, and by hitting up and down arrows from your keyboard, you can navigate between the values available in these fields easily and quickly. Unfortunately, it doesn't work on Safari. Let's hope that they will fix this later. This is something we cannot fix at this site. Now let's analyze the simulation part. So the simulation part, you have a text, a large font and a small font. You also have the reference used in the color. Color defining the foreground and the background. You also have the X values, the foreground which is bigger, the background which is smaller. You have the value of the contrast. You have the validation of the WCAG, showing you if they are valid or not. Next to it, we have some functionalities to help you in your daily life of production. When you want to communicate those values to somebody, to a developer, to another designer, to somebody which will need these informations, you can communicate these values by just hitting a simple button. So here we have the first button, text. When you click on it, it will be copied to clipboard. A text copied to clipboard to make it really easy to communicate the text, for example, in an email. Let's say the background color is that value, the foreground color is that value, the font used is this one with that weight. You don't have to type it one by one. Let's change it. Let's see with another one how it looks. We still click on the text, it's copied to clipboard, and when we are back to our text editor, it just says in English the background color, the text color, the font used, and the weight of that font. If we are working on the web, we can also export the CSS. By one click, we get the CSS for the container. Always the name container with the font family, the color, and the background color. We are using RGBA to ensure that we manage the opacity if some opacity was used in the palette. We can try with another one. You see that you still have this information. If you need to have those fonts, you can get them directly from here Google by hitting Get the Font, and they will explain you how to implement in your target project on the web or whatever. Last but not least, definitely, this is the SVG. When we hit SVG, it will copy the SVG code of what we just made. We can see it in a text editor, but what is quite interesting is that with programs such as Figma, by example, other programs like that do exactly the same. When you will paste that code after hitting the button, it will directly paste an SVG in your design program. So you immediately see the result. If the font is not implemented, it will ask for a replacement. Hopefully you installed the font already. And now you can substitute it and you get the right font directly. With the right color, right background, you can use it immediately in your project.
That's it for this video. You can access all these functionalities by buying a subscription of 3 or 6 months to the full version of Colors Tester. Thank you for watching and have a colorful day.